With just 2 weeks left to go here in the regular season, our Denver Broncos are eyeing a spot in the NFL playoffs. Our long 7-game win streak has been snapped, but we currently still sit as the 7th seed with a record of 9-6. In today's episode, we'll be playing the Cleveland Browns, who have the worst record in the NFL and an opportunity to clinch the number 1 pick with a loss. We've also got a prospect profile, our last one of the season, in which we'll be going through the linebackers and defensive backs in this year's draft class. So, of course, it's been a tale of two halves for our season. We started the year 2-5 on a 5-game losing streak. The offense looked unfixable, and the team was trending towards another top pick in the upcoming NFL draft. And while we're still probably going to pick towards the top 5, it won't be with our own pick. Thank you, Jets. But ever since week 7, our team has been phenomenal. We won 7 games in a row, and going into the last episode, that's when we met our challenge, the number 1 seeded Dallas Cowboys and the number 1 seeded Kansas City Chiefs. We beat Dallas in a very exciting overtime win, and then we lost to the Chiefs, ending the win streak, but we're still in a good spot. Even though the Chiefs were able to clinch the division with that win, we still control our own fate as the 7th seed in the AFC. Win out, and we're in the playoffs. The Browns are obviously not great, but you never want to take anybody lightly in the NFL. And then the Colts in Week 18 could prove to be a huge matchup because, like us, they are currently in the thick of things in the wild card race. They do lead their division right now, but not by much. They're tied with the Jags, and they're only a game ahead of Houston. So that game could prove to be really important for both teams. Before we keep going, though, again, we've got another prospect profile. And as we know, we're currently projected to pick 3rd in this year's draft. It looked like it was going to be the number 1 pick for a while, but now all of a sudden the Jets are winning, and that pick is getting worse and worse. The Browns, again, are a loss away from clinching the number 1 spot, presumably where they would select one of the top quarterback prospects, either Cade Klubnik from Clemson or Avery Johnson from Kansas State. Assuming we don't pick in the top 2 and those guys are off the table, chances are we would look away from quarterback unless there's a guy we really like. Even though I think offense is the bigger need on this roster, it doesn't hurt to look on the defensive side of the ball, and we'll start at linebacker. We've got plenty of talent here, and keep in mind we do run a 3-4 scheme, so our outside linebackers are edge rushers, but as we look at our actual linebackers, we've got a good group with Jeffrey Bassa, Drew Sanders, Brian Asamoah is a rotation guy, and then the rookie safety Marvin Grant, who plays a lot in the box. Obviously, our edge rushers are really good with Baron Browning and Nick Benito, the dynamic duo. Benito is well on his way to winning the Defensive Player of the Year. Baron Browning has been very good this year. Jonah Ellis has shown some flashes. And I like our linebackers a lot as well. Jeff Bassa is playing well in an increased role. Drew Sanders has been great off of injury. But it never hurts to add more. Obviously, teams want as many pass rushers as they can get. And with all the guys who are free agents this year, it doesn't hurt to look. And we'll start with Jihad Campbell out of the University of Alabama. A do-it-all linebacker for the Crimson Tide. He checks off all the boxes as somebody who can cover, somebody who can blitz, somebody who you can put on the edge with his hand in the dirt. I don't really know how he's going to be used in the NFL. I would say a guy who can do a little bit of everything. And I think it's going to take a really creative defensive coordinator to maximize his talent. He has missed a lot of games this year with injury, but when he's on the field, he's been a very impactful player. Behind Campbell, I look at Anthony Hill Jr., the talented junior from Texas. He's only 21 years old, one of the youngest prospects in this year's draft, and I don't think he's entirely dissimilar to Campbell in the sense that Texas asks a lot out of him. He wears a bunch of different hats for that defense, and he plays a variety of different roles. Similar in terms of build, 6'3", 240 pounds, like Campbell, a 5-star recruit coming out of high school who has certainly lived up to the billing. Another guy who can rush the passer, stop the run, and cover. And in today's NFL, the ability to do all of those things at the linebacker position is very impactful. Going into the year, Hill was looked at as a top 15 pick, and he's been a little up and down this season. His stock has gone down a tiny bit, but he's still been a good player, and I think top 50 is where he belongs. Behind him, Jacob Rodriguez, a really well-rounded linebacker, somebody who can go after the quarterback and cover, former high school quarterback, so that certainly doesn't hurt. And then Jaron Kanak from Oklahoma, freak athlete. I think he's a little bit raw, but the upside is there. Jalen Walker, talented pass rusher. I think he's being misused a little bit at Georgia. He'll be a better pro than college player. And then Ernest Hausmann out of Michigan, one of the best defensive players on the field in last year's college football playoff, was on a fast track to being a first-round pick. Hasn't really happened, though, this year. His stock has really plummeted down, but the upside with him is definitely still there. A player I've had my eye on since last year is Appalachian State edge rusher Thomas Davis. No player in the FBS has accumulated more sacks over the last 2 years combined than Thomas Davis has. He was ridiculously impressive as a junior. Offenses have put more focus on him this season, but he still has 9 sacks as a senior. He wins in a variety of different ways as a pass rusher, and his toolbox coming off the edge is very diverse. The big problem with him is that he's undersized, 6'2", 235 pounds. That's the question with him, but it's clear he's a really talented player. Behind him, you've got a number of other players who I think could go in the top 100 picks. Wade Woodaz from Clemson is a guy whose stock has really gone up this year. All-American type season for the Tigers. He was primarily used off the ball last season, and I could still see him being used in that way in the NFL. He's a good cover player, but they've used him as an edge rusher a lot this year, and he's been pretty effective with 7 sacks. And for a guy who's pretty new to the position as an edge rusher, that's pretty impressive. Another guy who wins in a variety of different ways is a pass rusher. And I think with his ascending pass rush profile and his ability to cover, there's no reason to think he won't be a really successful player at the next level, especially given his athletic profile. 6'3", 230, long arms, and he's really quick, really shifty, and a guy who I think will continue to get better. Cameron Robinson from SMU, good edge rusher. I think he's going to be a high floor player. Sandalio Cortez, Morehead State, big physical player. How will he adjust to the NFL level? Elijah Herring from Memphis had double-digit sacks last year, but has cooled off this year. He's seen his stock take a dip. And then inside linebacker, no likely first-rounders here, but some good players. We'll start with Lander Barton out of Utah, the younger brother of former Broncos linebacker Cody Barton. 6'4", nearly 240 pounds. I think Barton possesses really good football instincts. He comes from a family of athletes, including, as I mentioned, Cody Barton. He's a good covered player, particularly in zone, but I think he's pretty solid in man coverage as well. The athletic traits are really, really impressive, and he's a solid run defender as well. He's been the green dot guy on that Utah defense over the last few seasons, and he's been really effective in doing so. He's not the clear top inside linebacker in this class, though, and I think different scouts are going to hold different opinions to who's the top guy. For a lot of them, I could see it being Jayshawn Barham out of the University of Michigan. And of the 4 middle linebackers projected to go in the top 100, I think he has the highest ceiling. This is a big dude. 6'3", around 250 pounds. He's built like an edge rusher, and I could see whoever drafts him trying to convert him to a pass rusher. I don't think it's likely, given his skill set at linebacker, but he's got the athletic profile for it. Nonetheless, though, this is a player who has been inconsistent, but has shown some really good flashes. Last year at Michigan, nearly 90 tackles, 4 fumbles forced, 4 recovered. He had a knack for the football, and this year, teams are trying to keep the ball away from him. They're targeting him more in the passing game, and he's improved in coverage quite a bit with 3 interceptions. So even though the run defense and some of the fumbles haven't really been there, he's been a better coverage player, and I think it's just a matter of him putting it all together and turning into a complete, consistent linebacker. Ben Roberts, the redshirt junior from Texas Tech, likely to declare in this year's draft. 6'3", 230 pounds, really good run defender. The floor with him is really high, probably the highest of these 4 projected top 100 linebackers. He's going to be a good player. I feel pretty confident in saying that. The athletic tools are behind the other guys, though, and I think the ceiling is definitely not as high. I don't think you're looking at some multi-time Pro Bowler or anything, but I think he's going to be able to enter a defense and be a productive player right away. And then there's Shamar James out of the University of Florida, who's been one of the most productive linebackers in the nation over the last couple of seasons and has taken steady improvements in his time at Florida. A little bit undersized, 6'1", 230, but another guy who I think has good overall instincts. He's a solid run defender, really good cover player. I would say he's probably the best in coverage overall and certainly the most consistent of these top 4 guys. He roams around like a safety. He can really take up a lot of space in zone coverage, and the ball skills have been really impressive this year, recording 5 interceptions. Behind those guys, I don't think it's an overly deep group, though. I would keep my eye on Deontay Lawson, transferred from Alabama to Florida State this past offseason, but has been really inconsistent this year. A small school guy I like is Kason Smith, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Nick Martin from Oklahoma State, he's a good player. And then Chris Paul Jr. from Ole Miss. The memes with him would be pretty easy as we move into the secondary, where it is a loaded defensive back class. 6 corners projected to go in the first round, and a great group of safeties. I like where we're at in the secondary, but we could always look to get better. Obviously, Patrick Surtain is terrific. We just extended him. He's not going anywhere. But I don't know if we have our long-term other boundary corner on the roster. I prefer Chris Abrams-Drain in the slot. Riley Moss has been fine, but he's going to be on the last year of his deal next year. And then Savon Revel is inexperienced. He's given us great production in special teams, though, so that's promising. And then at safety, I think this is an underrated need for us. I really like Marvin Grant, but he takes most of his snaps in the box. We need a true center field safety because while I think Brandon Jones has been a lot better than last year, I like him more as a run defender than in coverage. So I think safety is definitely an area we're going to look at. Let's start with the cornerback class. So much talent. You got what feels like about 30 players projected in the top 100. 6 guys slated to go in the first round. 3 in the top 10. We'll start with Avion Terrell out of Clemson, the younger brother of Falcons cornerback A.J. Terrell. The thing that sticks out in Avion's game is world-class ball skills. He knows how to track the football and make a play on it. 6 interceptions in each of the last 2 seasons. I don't think he's the perfect cover player, though. And to me, he feels like a clone of Trayvon Diggs. And I always think it's a little bit lazy when people compare corners with good ball skills who are inconsistent in coverage to Trayvon Diggs. But I really see the similarities here. He's allowed quite a few catches over the last couple of seasons. And calling him Trayvon Diggs is a total compliment because I think Trayvon Diggs has improved tremendously in coverage. And if Terrell is able to take those leaps, he's going to be one of the best corners in the NFL. Then you got Colin Wright from Stanford, who's kind of the opposite player. He's the shutdown, put him on an island type who the quarterback is just not going to look at. Throw it on the other side of the field. Wright does not have the ball skills that Terrell does, and I don't think he has the overall ceiling. But he's the more consistent cover player, and I think he's going to be a little bit better right off the bat. I think some teams are going to prefer Wright, some teams are going to prefer Terrell, but regardless, these are 2 of the 3 or 4 best prospects in this draft, and even though corner is not a need for us, with that Jets pick, we'd be foolish not to consider picking one of these guys, because I think this could be like Sauce Gardner and Derek Stingley coming out a few years ago, where they were both picked in the top 5, and they both quickly became 2 of the best players at the position in the league. They're not the only ones slated to go in the top 10, though. You got Jermaine Matthews Jr. out of Ohio State. He's a really good prospect in his own right, and in a lot of years, he'd be the first corner off the board. 5'11", 190 pounds, really good in man coverage. This is someone who can truly stick to the opposing receiver. Not a great zone player, though. I think he'll be somewhat limited in terms of what scheme he can be placed in, but I do like his versatility on the field in the sense that he can play on the boundary. He plays a lot in the slot for Ohio State, and he's able to keep up with those quicker, shiftier receivers who move lightning quick. Behind those guys, you got Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky, a very different player to Matthews in the sense that I think he's best as his own corner. Somebody who's very instinctive, he knows how to read the quarterback's eyes, and he knows where to stay in space. But if you match him up with a big 6'4" Drake London type of physical receiver, he might struggle a little bit. He's tall, but he's slim. 6'1", 181. Impressive ball skills, though. 4 interceptions this year. He's also forced and recovered 2 fumbles, so he is a turnover waiting to happen. Azariah Thomas out of Florida State is a prospect who I really like, and I feel like he's really improved over the last couple of years with the Seminoles. Good size and length, 6'2", a little bit shy of 200 pounds. I don't think he's the perfect coverage player himself, but I think he's gotten a lot better in man and zone over the last few seasons with the Noles, and the athletic traits are really impressive. For a guy of his size, he moves really well. It is not easy to find 6'2", 200-pound corners who can fly like this young man does. And I think the athletic traits combined with the very linear development path over the last couple of years suggests that this kid belongs in the first round. Better ball skills, better in coverage. I think the sky is the limit for Azariah Thomas. And then you've got Dalen Everett out of Georgia, former 5-star recruit who's really turned into a good player in the Bulldogs secondary. 6 foot, 190 pounds. The athletic traits with him are really impressive as well. He's a guy who can really play in just about any scheme. He's good in man. He's good in zone. The ball skills are impressive. as is the athleticism. Even though he's probably going to be the 6th corner off the board, I'd be willing to bet that when we look at these guys' rookie seasons, Dalen Everett's going to be one of the 2 or 3 best, given his impressive production in the SEC. I don't know if he has the ceiling of some of these guys, though, which is probably why he's going to be a late first-rounder. What's scary about this cornerback class, though, is it's not just top-heavy. It's absurdly deep. Tyrell Raby looks to be the next great small school corner. Guys should not be able to move like he just did on that play. 5'11", 190, really good man cover player. I think he needs to improve a little bit in zone, but I like his stickiness even for a smaller guy. And then the ball skills are really impressive. 7 interceptions this year, 11 over the last 2 years. We've seen small school corners really make an impact in the NFL early. Guys like Quinyon Mitchell and Sauce Gardner. Tyrell Raby could be next. Gentry Williams from Oklahoma is a fascinating prospect. He has a chance to break Xavier Worthy's 40-yard dash record. Look at him run the route for his receiver with his unbelievable speed. Now, he is nowhere near the cover player that really any of these guys projected in the top 100 are. However, the athletic traits are way too impressive to ignore. Somebody's going to take a shot on the upside with him. He's got a ways to go in his development, but some of the flashes you see on the field with his athleticism are really something else. And if he's able to live up to his ceiling with the traits that he possesses, look out. He's missed most of this year with an injury, though, but he's come back strong, and it doesn't look like he's lost any of his world-class speed. Ephesians Prysock out of the University of Washington is a very physical, toolsy corner. 6'4", really matches up well with bigger receivers. It was just a matter of him putting it all together because he was inconsistent in his career at Arizona and then last year at Washington. But he's really had his best season this year with the Huskies. And given his athletic profile, his stock has soared. The ball skills have been great. 5 interceptions. He's improved in coverage. And because of that, I think he makes his way possibly in the top 50 picks. As we talked about with ball skills, there are so many corners in this class who have a knack for the football, but I don't know if anybody does like Toriano Pride Jr. out of the University of Missouri. Leads all of the FBS with 9 interceptions this year, one of which was thrown by Kansas legend Clyde Poole. He's a little bit inconsistent in coverage, though, which is why he is slated to go towards the back end of the second round, but you cannot teach the ball skills that this kid has. It's a damn shame he's a Missouri Tiger, because otherwise I would be pounding the table for him to go earlier than the late second round. I think he's a true first-round talent, and I think teams have overstated some of the inconsistencies in coverage. Behind him, you have Terrence Brooks, versatile guy out of Illinois. I like his skill set. Davison Igbinosun from Ohio State, little inconsistent, but I think the upside is really high. Javion Cole from Texas, a very small school guy who's gotten better and better transferring up, and the bigger levels in the SEC have not fazed him. Sione Laulea from Oregon, very raw player, hasn't seen the field a ton, but again, the upside with him is really high and could lead him to being a top 100 pick. And then looking for some potential gems, Matthew McDoom, really good career at Coastal Carolina, transfers to Georgia. I think he's fared pretty well in the SEC, but he's really small. Let's look at the Eastern Washington duo, Paul Green Jr. and Tobogo Tate Jr., projected to go right next to each other. With Green, I think he's the upside guy of the two. He's got the athletic traits, he's got the size. And then Tobogo Tate, I think he's a little bit more consistent in coverage as of right now, and I think he's more likely to make an early impact in the NFL. Behind them, Damani Jackson, former 5-star recruit. The athletic traits are there. Has never turned into a consistent lockdown corner. Jeremiah Irby from Boise State. Big guy, runs fast. I think the upside is there. Jaden Lucas from Clemson. Quarterbacks don't throw the ball his way. Even though Avion Terrell is on the other side, Lucas is a really good covered player, but he has spent a lot of this year injured. When he's been on the field, though, he's been really good. And then late down the board, Avante Dickerson from Kansas. He's been really inconsistent this year. He allows the home run play a little bit too much, but I think his overall body of work as a coverage player is pretty good. He's got good size, a little bit skinny though. As we move over to safety, it's a really good safety class as well. Maybe not as great as the cornerback crop, but still fantastic group. And we've got to start with Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, who many people believe might be the best football player, period, in this year's draft. And he's just pushed down the board a little bit because of positional value. with that Jets pick, he could absolutely be a guy we consider. I want a true center field type of safety who can really cover. Caleb Downs can do that, but he's not just a pure coverage guy. You can put him near the line of scrimmage as a blitzer. He's a good run defender. He's really the total package. He's been a superstar ever since he entered college at Alabama, and now his last 2 seasons at Ohio State. He has lived up to the billing and absolutely will be in consideration as a top 10 pick. Behind him, you got Jeremiah Cooper out of Texas, transferred from Iowa State this past offseason and has really transitioned well into the SEC. He's got phenomenal ball skills. That play he dropped, but that's not normal for him because at least in the NCAA save file, he has 99 catching. Will he have 99 catching in the NFL? No, he won't. But his catching rating should still be pretty high because he's got fantastic ball skills. A little bit inconsistent in coverage, though. Certainly not the overall body of work that a guy like Caleb Downs has, but he's more of a turnover threat, per se, than Downs is. The depth at 3 safety is a little shaky, though. I do like Bryce Anderson from Texas A&M. I think he's a top 100 player. And then Devin Dye from Kansas. He's been really good for the Jayhawk defense over the last couple of years. Highly instinctive player. Really, really good run defender. He's improved in coverage. I think he should go way earlier than the 5th round, but maybe I'm biased. At strong safety, I think there's a lot more depth here than free safety, and we'll start with Xavier Nwankpa out of the University of Iowa. Really well-rounded safety, 6'2", 215 pounds. He's been a good starter for the Hawkeyes for 3+ years now at this point. And I think he's got a really well-rounded skill set. He can cover, he can defend the run. You can put him at free safety, strong safety, nickel corner in the box. I think his versatility and his overall skill set is going to lead him to being a great player in the NFL and certainly a guy worthy of going at the end of the 1st round. Again, in a lot of seasons, he might be the top safety off the board. Last year, there would be a chance that he'd be the top safety gone. But with Caleb Downs here, an arguably generational safety prospect, that's not going to happen for him. Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State, I like for many of the same reasons that I'm a fan of Nwankpa. Another very instinctive player. I think he's a little bit better in run defense than Nwankpa, but I don't think he's quite the cover player. So it's kind of pick your poison. What type of fit are you looking for? Are you looking for someone who is going to be better closer to the line of scrimmage, such as Winston, or farther away like Nwankpa? I will point out, though, I think Winston's more of a playmaker in terms of turnovers. 4 interceptions over the last 2 seasons compared to just 1 for Nwankpa. Then we look at Keon Sabb out of the University of Alabama. Played a solid role on the Michigan title team a couple years ago. Has spent the last 2 seasons with the Crimson Tide, where he's really held in the back end. Versatility is the name of his game. I think he would be really impactful in the nickel. He's also a good true safety as well. At Alabama, if you want to play safety, you've got to be versatile. Look at guys like Minka Fitzpatrick, Brian Branch, Malachi Moore. Those guys played all over the field at Alabama. Keon Sabb has been the next on the list. Behind them, you've got these 2 freaks, Kendall Daniels and Malik Verdon, both of whom are giants. Daniels is more of a cover player. Verdon, another former high school quarterback, is more of your versatile type who plays all over the field. Nick Emanwari from South Carolina, he's a fun player. Andres Salazar, only 21 years old, from Abilene Christian, a small school guy with a high ceiling. Javon McIntyre from Kansas. I think this is a guy who's really improved over the course of his senior season. We put him in the Marvin Grant role, and no, he's not as good as Marvin Grant, but he's gotten a lot better as the season has gone along. I think his stock is going to continue to rise. I think he'll be a top 150 pick at the very least. And with that, we've gone over the entire draft class. A lot of work has been put into this over the last couple of weeks, but I'm excited that other than some of the juniors who are going to declare, the class is now complete, and I'm excited to see how the offseason plays out with all these guys, and of course the college football playoff, which will be in the next episode of the Kansas Dynasty, and that'll be coming out sometime this upcoming weekend. Even though that video is with the Kansas series, I would argue it's a little bit more important for this series. I'm going to be watching a lot of prospects very closely to see which guys are going to be the best fit with our football team going forward. But now, we turn all of our focus onto the playoff push and this Week 17 matchup against the Browns. And yes, they're a bad team. They've lost 10 games in a row. There's no way around it. With a loss, they clinched the #1 pick. And as much as I would love that Jets pick to be #1, we have bigger fish to fry. We're going for a playoff spot with teams like the Texans and the Dolphins right there with us. We're going to need some help, even though we do control our own fate. But say we don't win out, We'll be rooting for New England to beat the Dolphins and the Titans to beat the Texans. New England's season is on the line. They're going to be playing hard. The Titans, I don't know. They're not that good, although they almost beat us. And keep in mind, Houston beat us earlier in the season, so they would have the tiebreaker. The three of us all had the same in-conference record, so if we do finish tied with the Dolphins, then it would go to some really confusing tiebreaker, so hopefully it doesn't come to that. And the best way that it won't come to that happening is if we win out. If we take care of business, we're in the playoffs, no matter what. And that starts here against the Cleveland Browns. As you can see, they don't really do anything good. They are the lowest scoring offense in the NFL. They are the 24th ranked scoring defense. But during this 10-game losing streak, 7 of the 10 games have been decided by one possession. So it's not like they get throttled every single game. And again, because of that, I don't want to overlook this game and just look at the Colts matchup. At quarterback, they traded up for Cameron Ward out of the University of Miami in the first round. He's been the starter pretty much all year, and as you can imagine, given their record, it hasn't been great. I think he's gotten better throughout the year, but with the Browns probably picking number 1 overall and a chance to pick Cade Klubnik or Avery Johnson, I don't think they're going to pass up that opportunity. So this feels like an audition for Cam Ward to potentially get traded, and I still think he has value, probably a day 2 pick. And then, of course, his backup. We're not going to talk about that guy. The Browns do have some fun players, though, on the offense. Obviously, Nick Chubb, not the player he once was. He's regressed quite a bit, but he's still good. And then Jordan James is a fun young back as well. Tet McMillan, the 5th overall pick out of Arizona, very good receiver. Jerry Jeudy, the former Brown. David Njoku is a great tight end. And then defensively, it hasn't been great, but they've got talent on that side of the ball. Sebastian Benjamin, the 4th-round linebacker out of Western Kentucky, has been one of the best rookies in the class. How can we not even mention Myles Garrett, who I believe is the best edge rusher in the NFL, or at the very least, one of, because, I imagine the Steelers fans out there are not going to like that. Nonetheless, let's get this show on the road. Week 17 against the Browns in Cleveland. With a loss, the Browns clinched the number 1 pick, and with a win for us, that makes next week's game against the Colts win and in. But again, we cannot let this be a trap game. We've got to take care of business. Bo Nix has been playing some of the best football of his career over the last few weeks. Wasn't very good a week ago against the Chiefs, however, but we are now going from playing the best team in the league to the worst, so I imagine it'll be a little bit easier for him. From the 47-yard line, play action here on first down. He'll go short. It's Adam Troutman who makes the play with plenty of room to run after the catch as he gets it to the 37-yard line for a nice gain of around 16 yards or so. This opening drive is looking pretty good. Denver's marching down the field nicely. 3rd and 4, bad pass. It's overthrown for Marvin Mims. Mims has been the true alpha receiver over the last few weeks that this team is looking for. The biggest reason why Bo Nix has been better is because Marvin Mims has been healthy. 4th and 4, we're going to go for it. On the run, it's Troy Franklin with the first down. What a great throw by Nix. Franklin was open. He was always going to get the first down, but Bo Nix's pass leads him into more space, getting Franklin to the 10. Gutsy decision to go for it there on 4th down, but it pays off, and it results in 6. Savion Williams, the undrafted rookie out of TCU, is in the end zone, his 2nd touchdown of the year. Maybe not as impactful as the last time he scored, the game winner against the Chargers, but we'll take it. Good opening drive, 7-0. Here's Cam Ward and the Browns offense from the 26. Ward floats it up, and it's somehow caught. David Njoku is able to keep the feet in bounds for a gain of 21 yards. Following play now for Ward, looking to potentially keep his starting job in Cleveland next year. He's going to get it back to Njoku, who gets it all the way to the 32. Again, given the quarterbacks in this class, I think it's unlikely Cam Ward is back next year, but somebody's going to take a shot on him. The talent is there. Nick Chubb, with room to the left side, gets by Surtain, and he is gone. For this being the lowest scoring offense in the NFL, the fact that they just marched down the field, a 4-play drive, resulting in a touchdown, not a good start for the defense. Denver back with it on offense. Here's Marvin Mims, outruns Emerson, nice juke move, and he is hit hard at the 43 by Grant Delpit, but not before getting the first down. And again, Mims has been one of the most valuable players on this offense. He is in line for a big payday next year as he gets another first down, now to the 11. Mims was good last year, and he was good early this year, but he has just played on another level over the last month or so, as that'll wrap up the first quarter. Tied at 7. Both offenses looking really good so far. It's nice to see Bo Nix really throwing the ball well, especially on this possession. But that opening drive defensively was not pretty, and hopefully that's not a trend. To start the second, Tez Johnson. He is pushed in for a score, and Denver adds to the lead. The rookie out of Oregon, Tez Johnson, with another score. The brotherly connection strikes again, and Denver leads 14-7. 2 drives and 2 touchdowns for the Broncos offense. Hard to argue with that start, as the Browns have it back. We'll see if this drive looks as good as their last. Ward will hand it off to the rookie out of Oregon, Jordan James, and he is wrapped up for a loss of yards by Pat Surtain. I wouldn't be surprised if James becomes the regular starter next year, drafted in the 4th round. Really, really good player. On 2nd and 11, there's Njoku, breaks the tackle from Jeffrey Bossa. What a start for Njoku. 3 catches, 61 yards. He has been really good up to this point. We've got to cover him. Now from the 43-yard line, Ward looks to throw it. He has time up the middle with a strike for the former Bronco, Jerry Jeudy, who gets it to the 31-yard line. Things may have ended ugly with Jeudy in Denver, but the talent has always been there with him. Following play, under pressure, he is sacked. It's Dietrich Wise Jr. who brings him down, and that'll make it a 2nd and 16. Hand off to the left side. Chubb wrapped up for a loss of a couple of yards. Jonah Ellis brings him down. Good to see him making a play, and it is now 3rd and long, 3rd and 18 to be exact here at the 40-yard line. Ward, who still has not thrown an incompletion yet, rolls out. Under pressure, sacked again. Nick Bonito, 15.5 sacks, and the Browns punt it away. Bonito's incredible season continues as the Broncos get it back. 3rd and 12, looks like a screen. Whaley with a juke move. Good play after the catch, but he's only able to get 10. Wrapped up by the veteran Eddie Jackson. It's a 3-and-out for the Broncos, and they'll punt it for the first time today. Big stop for Cleveland. They'll get it back on offense. Here's Cam Ward from the 42. It's David Njoku, wide open. Breaks the tackle from Surtain. Oh my goodness, he just got leveled. And Njoku gets it to the 37. We've got to stop this dude. He has been unbelievable so far. He's always open, and he's making big plays after the catch. Play action. Here's Ward. Under pressure. Sacked again. 3rd sack of the first half. It's John Franklin Myers who brings him home. And the backup tight end, Luke Lackley, drafted on day 3. This last draft out of Iowa, hurt on the play. 3rd and 4. Ward under pressure from Bonito. He's got an open man. It's Jordan James. Breaks the tackle and gets it to the 18. Cam Ward is dissecting this defense like a surgeon. The coverage has been absolutely pitiful, and even with the pass rush still producing, it hasn't mattered. Ward on 3rd and 6. Gets it to Njoku again. Another first down to the 5. 6 catches for 100 yards for Njoku, and we're still in the first half. Njoku's got it again. Breaks the tackle, and he's in for a touchdown. Jeffrey Bossa lassoed him up, but they're going to say he was in. I'm not so sure. I feel like the knee was down at the half-yard line, and ultimately the booth will take a look at it. To be honest, I hope this play stands, because if he's not in, they're going to waste a lot of time and then probably score anyway. Our best chance of scoring is for this to be ruled a touchdown. So unfortunately for us, the call is overturned. It's not a touchdown. The Browns are going to use all of the play clock. But look at this, a false start. So maybe that play being reversed was a good thing, because instead of having it at the half-yard line, they now have it at around the 5.5-yard line, and that completely changes the outlook of the drive. 2nd and goal from the 5. Cam Ward looks to throw it. He is under pressure, scrambles, and he is sacked again. 4 sacks in the first half for the Bronco defense. It's John Franklin Myers, his 2nd of the afternoon. 3rd and goal after another timeout. Ward has Njoku wide open. Is somebody going to cover him? The Browns tie it up. David Njoku with the score. I mean, how was he that wide open? The linebackers got to do a better job. So Denver's got it back. 20 seconds and 3 timeouts. Up the middle, Troy Franklin. Good start to the drive. He gets 15. Quick timeout by the Broncos. They know they've got to move fast if they want to score before the end of the half. We're down to around 16 seconds now from the 44. Nix will look to throw it again. He has a hole, and he will look to run with it. Bo Nix, open space, jukes away from the defender, tries to fight for every last yard. Denver calls another timeout. That was a good run, but it wasted around half the clock. Now there's only 9 seconds left. At the 42, not quite in field goal range. Nix looks short. It's caught by Dulcich, and he goes down immediately at the 30. We're going to use the last timeout. We're not going to mess around and bring out the field goal unit. What a perfectly executed drive there by Bo Nix. With 20 seconds and 3 timeouts, we run 3 plays. We get 3 first downs. 47-yarder by Lutz is good. But there is a flag. Late hit on the kicker against the Browns. They will call it against Dante Kent, the rookie out of Central Michigan. So we could decline it and take a shot for the end zone or kick again for the fun of it. We're not going to do anything stupid. We'll decline the penalty. We're going to take the points. We're going to take our lead into halftime, 17-14. The positives. The offense looks really good. The negatives. The defense has been absolutely horrific. Cameron Ward and David Njoku look unbelievable. For our halftime report around the rest of the NFL, an early blowout here in Jacksonville. 21-3, the Jags are taking care of business, which is unfortunate because we would like them to lose. The Jaguars have the same record as us. They're currently ahead of us in the standings because they beat us. So they're a team to watch out for in terms of wild card seeding. And unfortunately, the Seahawks are not doing us any favors. They're trying to lose a couple more games so they can get their hands on one of those top quarterback prospects. In the Meadowlands, the Eagles facing off against the Giants, 2 teams who are kind of out of the picture, 2 teams who we beat earlier in the year, and it has been all New York, 17-0, headlined by this touchdown reception by Wan'Dale Robinson. My fun fact of the day is that we went 5-0 against NFC opponents, but remember, we had the same in-conference record as the Texans and the Dolphins do. Both of them went 4-1 against the NFC. The National Football Conference, you guys are slacking! As we go to our final game, the Packers and the Lions. Green Bay can clinch the division with a win. The Lions have been quite the story. They started the year off 0-4, but have won 10 of their last 11 games. Now, the Packers lead this one 7-6, but the reigning Super Bowl champs are playing better than anyone. Even though the Lions started the year off horribly, they look like one of the favorites in the NFC to make it back to the Super Bowl, repeat, and get ring number 2. If the Lions win 2 Super Bowls in a row, I think I would be absolutely insufferable. I would not let any of you hear the end of it. Into the second half now, we've got a lot of work to do. The offense has been really good, but it's been limited in some sense. We have not been able to throw the ball past 10 yards. The Browns have done a really good job covering the intermediate and deep areas of the field. Bo Nix is doing a good job of taking what the defense is giving him, though, and not forcing anything. Defensively, we've got to stop Cam Ward. We've got to stop David Njoku. They have both been a total problem. Ward on the run. He connects with Jerry Jeudy to the 43. I think Ward is like 12 of 13 or something. I mean, the dude's been unbelievable. Cleveland's probably asking where this guy's been all year. Ward on the run is sacked now with Jonathan Cooper, who brings him down, and it appears that Cam Ward is slow to get up. He'll go to the locker room. That's devastating for the Browns. And to make matters worse, look who's in at quarterback. If it isn't Diddy Watson himself, he's got Jeudy for 7. And look who's hurt now. Nick Bonito going to the locker room. This is the most valuable and important player on our entire roster. If he's injured for this playoff run, we are screwed. 3rd and 10, Deshaun Watson under pressure, and he gets a massage in the backfield from the Broncos defensive line. Jonathan Cooper brings him down. I've got some good news to report on Nick Bonito. It's a bruised sternum. It'll keep him out for the rest of the game, but not a long-term injury. He should be back next week. Cam Ward suffered the same injury, so he will return in Week 18 and get the start for the Browns in what could be his final game with Cleveland before a potential trade, again, given that the Browns would pick one of the top quarterback prospects in this draft. Denver back with it, 3rd and 3. Javonte Williams going backwards. Myles Garrett, the former Defensive Player of the Year, brings him down, and Denver's going to have to punt it away. Browns back with it, 2nd and 13. Deshaun Watson looks to throw it. He goes short. It is caught by Ted McMillan, number 5, the 5th overall pick at the University of Arizona, as he gets it to the 44-yard line. So I guess it doesn't matter who's in at quarterback. We will just not cover today. Chubb to the outside, loses 3. Nice play there by Jonah Ellis. He's had a few splash plays and run defense in this game, doing a good job on Chubb and James, as it's now 2nd and 13. Back to Chubb, delayed handoff, and he's going backwards again. Dietrich Wise brings him down, and so now it is 3rd down and 14. Watson, alone in the backfield with his 26 lawsuits, as it's Tet McMillan on the screen. He gets 5. Defense does a good job sniffing it out. Surtain brings him down. Patrick Surtain's done a great job in coverage against the rookie today, and the Broncos get it back at the 43. Nix looks to throw it towards the sideline. It's caught by Tez Johnson. Good to see Nix looking downfield and making a really nice pass because, again, he has not been able to stretch the field at all. The Browns have done a really good job past 10 yards in coverage. Nix rolls out to the right. No one's open except for all this grass. He's going to run it to the 25 for a nice 1st down gain. Denver's looking good on this drive in what otherwise has been a defensive 3rd quarter. Play action. Nix. End zone. Troutman. They say he's not in bounds. Not so fast. Coach Bonnet will throw the challenge flag. I thought he got both feet in. Let's take a look, though. It was certainly close, but close enough, in my opinion, to warrant a challenge. I think the question is if he got the left foot in. He clearly gets the right, but look at the left. The toes are dragged in. That's a touchdown. And sure enough, the play would be reversed. It's a touchdown from Bo Nix to Adam Troutman. A successful challenge by head coach Simeon Bonnet and a really good ending to the 3rd quarter. A happy ending, one might say. 24-14 into the 4th now. We'll see if Cleveland can make the comeback or if we can hang on for the win, give the Browns the number 1 pick, and position ourselves that much closer to a spot in the playoffs. Browns with it at the 45 to open the 4th. Play action. Watson quickly finishes, penetrating through the defense. It's Tet McMillan to the 35-yard line, and the Browns are looking good so far here on this possession. 2nd and 8 now at the 33-yard line. Watson and Chubb in the backfield, and Njoku, who's been quieter with Watson in the game, is in motion. Watson looks to throw it. He will look downfield. Wide open! It's Elijah Moore! And the Browns are within 3. Elijah Moore was completely wide open there. That was pitiful coverage by Savon Revel. And again, the coverage today from the linebackers and the secondary, other than Surtain, continues to be a disaster. Offense looking to respond. Here's Troy Franklin. He gets it to the 38-yard line, stopped by Martin Emerson. It's a 4th and 2 now. We're not really in field goal range. I don't want to punt it, and we're close enough to getting the first, so we're going to go for it. Javonte Williams finds the hole. He's able to churn out some extra yards, and he ends up getting 8. A good run by Williams as a Browns defender appears to be banged up on the play. Under 6 minutes to go now. We're in field goal range, but we want to make it a 2-score game. With the inconsistencies of our defense, I'd rather close this one out quick. Nix on the run. He's got Mims. Little toe drag swag to the 17. Now the Browns are going to throw the challenge flag, though. I think this is a pretty terrible call. I think he clearly got both feet in. I guess in the replay it's a little bit close. Yeah, no, he got him. Never mind. This one's going to stand. Bad decision by the Browns, and for a team that needs all the timeouts they can get, trailing by 3, feels like they kind of wasted that one. 2nd and 1 at the 8. Nix under pressure. Sacked for the first time today. Isaiah Thomas brings him down, and that's a huge play for the Browns. Backs them up 5 yards, now 3rd and 6, and they're going to be backed up 5 more yards. Delay a game. We sent Mims in motion a little bit too late, and Nix was about a half a second away from snapping it, but the clock already hit 0. We just had a 2nd and 1. Now it's a 3rd and 11. Nix calls an audible at the line. Again, Denver really looking for a touchdown on this drive as he looks to throw it. Under a little pressure, nobody's open, and it is broken up looking for Dulcich. So the Browns get the stop. We're not going to do anything foolish. We're going to kick the field goal. 35-yarder for Big Nuts Lutz. The kick is good, but it's a 1-score game, 27-21, and we'll see if the Browns can look to take the lead. Let's see what Deshaun Watson and company have up their sleeves, or in Watson's case, in his pants. It's a nice throw here for, it looks like Jerry Jeudy. Brings it to the 42. Good start to the possession here for Cleveland. 3rd and 3 now at the 48. 2:30 left to go. The Browns not exactly moving overly quick so far. Watson looks to throw it up the middle. Easy throw and catch. 1st down for Jeudy again. He brings it to the 45, and that will bring us to the 2-minute warning. Cleveland has the Broncos on the ropes. Denver in serious danger of losing to the worst team in the NFL. We're only up by 6, and the Browns are moving it. 2nd and 10 at the 35, and Njoku again nearly gets the first down. The Browns are going to use their second timeout. They still have one more at the 25. I don't think clock is too much of a worry for them right now. As on 3rd and inches, Watson broken up. Riley Moss nearly ended the game with an interception. And now the Browns got to convert here on 4th and inches to keep the game alive. Jordan James, the running back in the backfield. Watson, quick throw. Sent McMillan with the first down at the 16. He got that one out fast. He was able to pull that one out really quick. That's what she said. Now from the 16. Watson, end zone, tipped and intercepted. But out of bounds. Surtain was able to make that catch, and, well, he might have actually gotten the feet in. The booth is going to take a look at this. In real time, I don't think he was in bounds. And as you can see, I think he gets one, but the right foot clearly out of bounds there. So this play will stand. It's an incompletion rather than an interception. And the Browns stay alive for a little bit longer. It's like the tree branch that's hanging off the cliff, and the Browns are just grasping at it barely. 2nd and 10, sacked on the play. John Franklin Myers, I think, had it maybe a half a sack all year. He's got 3 today. As the Browns are going to have to use their last timeout. Now they cannot be tackled in the field of play. That really changes what they can do here. He's probably going to have to look for the end zone or throw it away. He could have run for a nice gain, but since they don't have the timeout, that's not in the cards. And now 4th and 16. Again, the game is on the line. We're going to rush 4 and have 7 guys back deep, covering mostly the end zone. Watson looking for the sideline. It's caught for a first down by Jerry Jeudy. I didn't even really think of the possibility of them looking for the sideline rather than the end zone, but that works. The booth is going to look at if Jeudy got his feet in. I think in real time he did. And as we see the replay, yeah, drags them both. Clock stops as well. So now the Browns have a 1st and goal at the 3-yard line with 11 seconds left and some chances here to look for the end zone. And unfortunately, our offense is not going to have any time with the ball. That one is broken up, looking for Elijah Moore. We're down to 8 seconds. We might not even have time for a kick return. The Browns might literally score on the last play of the game. 2nd and goal. Watson throws it out the back, incomplete. Now there's around 6 seconds. He doesn't waste much time there. So they will have enough time for 2 plays unless, again, he gets tackled in the field of play. 3rd and goal from the 3. Watson is sacked! A happy ending for the Broncos! Jonathan Cooper gives Watson a nice massage in the backfield, and this game is finished, as is Deshaun Watson. 27-21, the Broncos hang on to win it. And yes, it's not a great look, barely beating the worst team in the NFL. The Browns, by the way, officially clinched the #1 pick. But look, a win is a win in the NFL. There's a slight chance that we can actually clinch the playoffs this week, but most likely, we position ourselves going into Week 18 with a win and in scenario. The scoreboard, as you can see here, says 21-21. It's like they're not counting the Adam Troutman touchdown, which was reviewed and reversed. But the game recognizes that we won. That's all that matters. Even though Bo Nix should have 3 passing touchdowns here instead of 2, he still had a really good game. Took what the defense gave him, and when guys were open down the field in the second half, he made the throws. The problem is, the Browns quarterbacks were arguably more productive. Cam Ward was outstanding. Deshaun Watson even played well. The two of them combined to go 27-34 for over 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pitiful showing by the secondary. Those 2 guys put up those numbers with 8 sacks. The pass rush was fantastic, per usual. That's how bad the secondary was. When the pass rush has their best game of the year, the secondary still does that, and the linebackers too. Those guys are guilty as well. If you weren't really paying attention during the prospect profiles today, you might want to go back, because we might need some of those linebackers and defensive backs more than we thought. The run game was fine. We didn't run it that much, but it was pretty good. David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy were uncoverable. Marvin Mims was really good again. Shout out Mims, 9 catches, 89 yards. Troutman's touchdown, not listed here, but he did score. The big difference, though, is the play in the trenches. Our defensive line was dominant. Our offensive line actually played pretty well against a pretty good Browns front. Got to give them credit. And then again, this defensive line is unbelievable. 3 sacks for JFM, 2 for Cooper. Our big guys didn't put up the big numbers. Nick Bonito only had 1 before he got hurt. Browning had a half. Michael Williams had a half. It was the role players who really stepped up and did their job, and that's what makes this pass rush so good. We've got a true alpha in Nick Bonito. We've got the Robin to his Batman in Baron Browning. Michael Williams might finish with 10 sacks. And then we've got the role players, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers, Jordan Davis. Those guys are all key cogs in this operation, and without them, it doesn't go. Let's now simulate the week and answer the question, do the Broncos clinch the playoffs before Week 18? The answer is no. Pretty much everyone who we needed to lose ended up winning. The Texans won. The Dolphins won. For our poor draft pick, the Jets won again. The Jaguars won. The one saving grace is that the Colts lost, but I don't really think that helps us at all because we play against the Colts this week anyway. And if they beat us but don't win their division, they would still have the tiebreaker over us. So the Colts losing really doesn't do anything. We were rooting against the Jags, the Dolphins, and the Texans, and they all won. And the Jets won too, which again kind of sucks. Players of the week, I was pleasantly surprised to see Bo Nix here. On one hand, I would usually be gloating about this and celebrating and pushing my Bo Nix agenda, but Michael Penix is there as well, so the irony is a little bit funny. Shout out to Bo for winning it, even though his 1 touchdown isn't even listed here with his stats. Do I think he was good enough in this game to win Player of the Week? No, but he still played a strong game. He played like a good A- performance here against the Browns. And he's continuing to play better as the year goes along. And as the Jets continue to win, meaning that we're not going to be able to land either Cade Klubnik or Avery Johnson, unless we really like one of the other quarterbacks, Bo Nix and the Jets have both played their way into a higher likelihood of Bo Nix keeping his job next year. Now, the Jets winning still stinks, and their pick could theoretically drop out of the top 10. Right now, it's at number 5. They've won 4 games in a row. And they play against the Dolphins this week, meaning that we are going to be rooting for the Jets to win. Now, if we beat the Colts, it doesn't really matter, and I guess it would help us if the Jets lost. But if we lose to Indy, then things get a little bit weird. We're still winning in. We move up to the 6th seed, and we would be slated to play Jacksonville. But let's say theoretically we lose. We're going to need some help. We will need the Raiders to beat the Texans because they had the tiebreaker over us. Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal, I'm going to need another favor from you guys. The Dolphins would have to lose to the Jets. Now, they've already blown out the Jets earlier this year, so I suppose that's not overly promising, but the Jets are playing really well as of recent. Now, the Dolphins have beaten the Colts, though, which makes things a little bit weird. Let's say we lose and the Dolphins win. The Colts would have the tiebreaker over us, and the Dolphins would have the tiebreaker over the Colts. That would mean that the Dolphins would have the tiebreaker over us. Jacksonville plays Buffalo. They had the tiebreaker over us. Now, if they win the division, it doesn't really matter. But if not, they would have that over us as well. And then the Bills haven't really played anybody in this group except for Jacksonville this week. So if they theoretically lost the division, which is still possible, the Dolphins could pass them, then things get a little bit weird. I know the scenarios are complicated, but we don't have to make things complicated. All we've got to do is win it in. And the team we're playing is also in a win-and-in scenario. If the Colts win, they're in. If they lose, they're out. If we win, we're in. And if we lose, we're not officially out. But I would say there's maybe a 20% chance we get in. It wouldn't be good. So in other words, we got to get the job done. That'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.